Welcome to Hester Brothers Cartoon Theater, everybody. I'm Lucas, and you might notice that there's only one brother here right now. I'm just doing a little introduction for our podcast, actually. I don't know how many of you guys know that we do this, but Alec and I have a Gravity Falls podcast called Gravity Bros. The links to which where you can find that will all be in the description. We had a conversation about Alex Hirsch tweeting. He and a representative from Disney were having censorship discussions. He saved a bunch of these emails and shared some of them. Alec shares them with me on this episode of the podcast, and I react to it and listen to it for the first time, and we have a really awesome discussion about censorship in media and stuff like that, so I wanted to share it with you guys. Obviously, do all the YouTube things, like and subscribe. It's a kind of cool to be able to show the little bit of podcast that we're doing on the show, so if this is something that you guys are interested in, you want to see more of, if you want us to, put more episodes from the podcast on here. This was more of a bonus episode because Gravity Bros is a rewatch podcast and we just kind of wanted to talk about this specific topic, but let us know your thoughts. We can always do more stuff like this, and the creative potential is boundless. Thanks everybody. Like and subscribe, membership, all the YouTube things, and enjoy this episode of Gravity Bros. Thank you.
The mysteries of Gravity Falls creep into the non-animated world. This is the Gravity Bros podcast. I'm Alec. This is my brother Lucas, and we're here for a bonus today.
Yeah, we're doing a special episode that I'm very much like you, the audience, about, because I know not very much about what we're actually talking about today.
Yeah, now on YouTube, we do reaction videos on our channel, Hester Brothers Cartoon Theater. We assume most of you know that or have seen it, but there could be a small amount who don't. And the fun thing about reactions is that we are actually reacting live to whatever we're seeing. Lucas has no idea exactly what I'm about to show him. Here's the context for the audience. About a week or two ago, Gravity Falls celebrated its 10-year anniversary. First of all, congratulations, Gravity Falls, for 10 years. And thanks for making this awesome show that we were able to talk about every week. But Alex Hirsch gave a treat to all of the supporters who have followed him for so long by tweeting out a 4.5-minute video detailing real emails from the Disney TV Standards and Practices Department. What? Yes, okay. So, not just, let me rephrase this. So, this is his exchange with this department every time that they asked him to censor something in the show. Now,
what? Yo, hold on. Yo, I'm on the edge of my seat with this right now. Is he allowed to do that? Can he publish that?
So I thought no. I had somebody in our Discord take note of all of them just in case Disney forced him to take them down. However,
cool.
They are still on Twitter as of right now. And thank you, Tess, in the Discord for taking stock of that.
That's sick. Thank you also. That's
so cool. No, I'm excited because I know what this is, and I've looked at little things, but I have not yet gone through the entire video one thing at a time. So what we're going to do today, we are going to unpack every single email that he decided to share in this video, keeping in mind that this is not everything. These are just some of the wildest that he thought would be fun to share to the public. And again, it's wild to me that he's even allowed to do this and that he decided to go through with it.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie, I might just create a little background clip and ask you if we could put this on YouTube.
Well, this is an audio-only recording, so...
I know, I said I'll just create a background for it.
Okay, yeah, that would be kind of fun. Yeah, and then we could, yeah, all right. I can sort of picture that.
When it's done, send me a clip. I'm serious, I'll make it happen.
All right, so I'm going to read his tweet first, and this is how it starts. He says, "Ever curious about the fights I had with the censors on Gravity Falls? I probably shouldn't share this, but... here are some real notes from Disney S&P and my real replies. You are not prepared. S&P stands for Standards and Practices."
What?
Get ready. I'm so excited to read this to you for the first time. Lucas does not pay attention to social media.
Which is funny because I'm actually a digital marketing manager for my main job. But it's because it is my main job. I don't do it personally. It's annoying to me because it's my work.
Right, so you're not necessarily as in tune with all of like animation news that's going around on social media and things. It's mind blowing to me that you haven't seen any of this yet. I had multiple people send this to me, being like, "Did you see this?" I'm like, "I want to talk about it as a full episode." Anyway,
Wow.
I feel like we've teased people long enough. Let's go one at a time. First up, the following are real emails from the Disney TV Standards and Practices Department. I should warn people in advance, normally we don't curse on this, but I'm going to leave everything uncensored because it is all very critical information for these tweets.
Aha!
Monday, September 9th, 2011. Page 31. Please revise poop face as it comes across as a replacement for shit face. Prior use of Mabel saying poop, and butts. In the episode Fight Fighters came across as more childlike and not as offensive. First of all, I can almost not even read what they are saying there.
I was gonna say, I'm like, wait, they're saying that the use of poop and butts in a different episode is okay because it's more childlike, but in another context it's offensive because it's more like shitface?
Yes, okay, actually that's exactly what they're saying.
Nice. Cool.
All right, great.
Okay, I got it. I speak legalese. I took out my master's in this kind of BS.
Alex Hirsch replies, I've never met a human on Earth of any age who would be offended by a cartoon saying the word poop face. His replies are going to be the best part of this exchange.
Now, if any, I also have not met a single person on this earth. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't exist. I'm sure that they exist. But the fact that Disney's censorship is concerned about them is what's a little problematic to me. But continue.
Sure, Alex Hirsch finished that by saying, not changing it. And I don't know whether that one made the show or not.
Oh my
probably
gosh! I think it did.
I feel like I've heard it. Anyway, page 492, it has come to our attention that hoo-ha is a slang term for vagina. Please revise.
It's come to our attention? Did they not know? That's awesome. The censorships wouldn't know.
I have a question about how exactly they go about doing the research for these types of things.
Where exactly? They're going to the Urban Dictionary now. If hoo-ha says it on the That's so silly, man.
Alex Hirsch replies, it is a proper word meaning excitement or hullabaloo, and that is clearly its meaning here. The context is an owl-themed restaurant called Hoo-Ha's Jamboree.
Oh. Okay, yeah, like...
It's absurd! Come on!
That's silly that somebody... Like, does hoo-ha mean that? Sure. But that doesn't, like... It also doesn't mean that at the same time. You know, it doesn't always mean that.
Sure, okay, and writes, not changing it. So I believe that one also got through.
I don't remember that one, actually, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, cause it's my understanding, I haven't watched this video yet, but I think that when we get to the ones that there was more back and forth, that's included. So if it says it didn't change it, I'm pretty sure not, but we'll see. Page 14. Please revise chub pup on t-shirt. Chub has a sexual connotation. Have you heard that?
Oh yeah, I know that one.
Okay, I'm not familiar. Now listen, I am very out of the
It's a
loop
penis
when it comes...
thing.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely sure, sir. I'm much more well-versed in the slang of this generation than you. Chub is a penis thing.
You're very right. Urban Dictionary is not my forte.
Dude, Urban Dictionary is the back of my skull.
Hirsch reply. This is silly. It's an image of a fat dog. From the context, there is no reason to think that chub means anything other than that.
Yeah, I agree with Alex Hirsch. Chub way more commonly means fat before it means anything else. I can't believe that one. That one's kind of silly to me. Like, the other ones I get, like, hoo-ha's a thing. I think that one's kind of silly. I don't think that many people even know. You didn't even know that existed.
No, I mean, because if I'm the censors, right, I'm thinking about what are parents going to object to that are going to make my life more difficult when they start writing letters. And I feel like none of these so far have been remotely in that camp.
I mean, to be fair, though, how smart is the average American parent? You know, the censors have got to worry about some pretty ridiculous stuff. Just playing devil's advocate here, you know? Like,
yes.
I'm sure that they have gotten calls about the nuttiest things that you would never believe that somebody would complain about. Common, even.
Yeah, that I do believe, but you can't censor everything. Like,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
no.
Yeah, of
And
course.
for what it's worth, I feel like censors have actually gotten probably looser over time. Like,
Yeah, I
Owl
think
House
so.
has been able to get away with quite a few things that I don't think Gravity Falls would have. But I feel like some of those are more themes. I think it's probably still hard to get certain words and phrases in there. I don't know.
Yeah. See, I just feel bad because I feel like the censorship people are probably just looking at a sheet of words that aren't okay. And like things like hoo-ha is like, oh, well, it's on the sheet of words, so I have to say something about it. You know what I mean? Like it feels like it's
Sure.
probably a bureaucratic job. I doubt it's all that creative. I doubt that whoever's sitting there is thinking, I wonder what the creative intent of them using hoo-ha is in. I highly doubt that those are those meetings.
So that's interesting. No, I mean, I'm almost surprised to hear you share that perspective, but I think it's kind of a good point that we don't really know the person behind the screen here. They might really just be doing their job, that Disney has given them a list of words. Or for
Yeah.
all we know, it's not even Disney. Maybe it's a broader list that goes to all networks for
Exactly.
kids.
Yeah, because they're responding to a whole bunch of different laws and regulations that I guarantee you the person who has the job of communications does not know all that much about, because that's how the bureaucracy works. It's a big company.
Sure. Now, they followed up that last tweet and said, "We have ran this phrase up the line, and unfortunately, the concern surrounding it still remains.
What?
If you'd like to send me, if you'd like to send me some alternate phrases, I can run those and let you know what becomes of it." Uh, Trying to maybe show some semblance of we are willing to work this out.
You can tell that the communications person is uncomfortable. You feel me? He's like, we ran this up the line. I swear to God, I have nothing to do with this.
Alex Hirsch replied,
Oh no.
alternate phrases: chubby pup, tub pup, chubbity pup pup. I can't believe I have to do this. I mean, clearly there were some battles that he couldn't win.
Well, see, okay, so let me also say one thing. I'm like, playing devil's advocate for the censorship, but it's not that Alex Hirsch also isn't incredibly justified for his sassy ass responses. You know what I mean? Like, it's just unfortunate that the bureaucrat is being paid to deal with that. I feel bad for that guy. The company's still wrong for censoring this stuff, like, obviously,
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a bigger discussion here about who really is the most responsible for some of these ridiculous things.
That's hard
who
to
makes the
say.
list? Like, is it a culmination of different things that have come together over time? Like, it's so hard to know. And at some point, you lose sight. Is it just some random person who has come up with this?
Probably.
Like,
Right?
I mean,
a lot of it is based on laws, like FCC laws, or FCC, Jesus Christ, Lucas.
but then that's a bigger question too, is because then where do they get it?
Federal Communications, is it the FCC?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's the FCC.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
No, you're right, but again, like, where does that stuff come from? Who decides what is appropriate? It's all socially constructed, really.
Well, it's politically constructed. I mean, yeah, obviously socially constructed.
More so, no,
I
in this
actually
case,
learned
you're
a
right.
little. I learned a little bit about it when I took my law and the arts class in my master's degree, actually, because we did learn a little bit about some of that kind of law and where it comes from. And yeah, it's just like Congress and Supreme Court decisions and stuff like that.
Sure. And obviously, like, if they're going to make an age-appropriate show, you're going to understand some things not getting through. Like, if they're dropping F-bombs, then that's not going to make Disney. And that's, regardless of how you feel about the construction of swear words in media, which, to be honest, to some of us, certain ones are just words. At least it's understandable that they wouldn't want that getting to a younger audience. But some things...
I mean, I think at least for branding, I think philosophically it's pretty easy to make an argument that, like, swearing isn't really that big a deal, in my opinion. But,
Sure, I mean, minus hate speech, I would say. But just regular swear words that are just being dropped...
Intention is key, and usually intention is pretty obvious, I'd say, when people are swearing most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting issue when it comes to content that is made for a younger audience. Well,
for that, I still say branding. Like, we're not a...
Sure.
Like, I don't think Disney's responsible for changing the cultural norms of parenting. They're just there to respond to it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I don't think anyone should ask Disney to do that. They should ask, like, They should ask, like, indie studios to do shit like that.
That's a great point. Okay. Let's get into something that we've already talked about throughout the course of the show. Page 380. Please revise the action of Blubs putting his arm around Derlin. As noted in previous concerns, their affectionate relationship should remain comical versus flirtatious.
Is this a gay thing?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah, I hate Disney. Screw that. That's awful. They should feel terrible for that. They should actually feel terrible. Whoever wrote that email should feel bad. I don't care if they're a bureaucrat, because they should have rebelled. If I had that job, I'd have turned around and be like, "Yo, someone else has to write this email. I'm not gonna put off this homophobic crap."
It's interesting to me that now Owl House has clearly had much more creative freedom to do this 10 years later.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that. I understand that, maybe the cultural norms were a little bit different 10 years ago, but it just destroys my soul to see this.
It's due to fighting, though, because people the reason the cultural norms are different is because creators have been fighting to create content like this, and it's like promoting the culture and making it more acceptable,
Definitely. I think the frustrating thing for me about this one is that it's literally like an arm around the shoulder. This is so tame. And
I know, right?
To really lay the hammer down on something like that is approaching genuine homophobia, in my opinion.
Oh, at least enforcing those norms, I think every individual in that chain of command would be like, no, that's not me. You know what I mean? But that's bureaucracy. That's the best. True, bad actions a lot of the time come from indecision and a lack of action rather than, malintent.
Yeah. No, I think that's an important point. That this is once again probably a policy that they felt forced to follow.
Checking that box, man. I'll bet it was just checking that box of things that aren't allowed.
You can tell from that specific one that there had been a lot of discussions about the cops as characters and what Hirsch was hoping to get out of them. And I feel like this was an overcorrection on their part, where 100%. Any semblance of it they were trying to censor if they could. And
what year did this come out again?
Let's see, 2012.
I don't think gay marriage was legal nationally then.
Ooh, that's a fair time to fact check that, actually.
And this is an interracial rural couple that are cops.
That's so interesting. Yeah, gay marriage legalized in 2015. It's weird. 10 years feels like it's not that far away, but it is amazing. Some of the strides that we've made this week. I'm not going to say that we've made every stride, but
I think the idea that we're progressing as a myth in humanity is fundamentally fucked up. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to be more optimistic than that, but
I think there's beautiful things too. Lots of beauty, but pretending that it's going to get better is silly. We should just be happy for what's there. And I'll try our best. Give a 1-2 try. Real vote and stuff like that, and just, do coping mechanisms to deal with how awful humanity is. That's the best way.
Yeah, I'll leave that where it is. Well said. All right. So Alex Hirsch replied to this to say, "Nope, they're ... buddies."
That's pretty good.
He's just trying to say. Oh, and then it says, "Chill out."
Really?
Oh, and they replied, "The gesture is approved in this context." So he actually ended up getting through that one.
Let's go. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
God, dude, I still hate kind of feeling that tension, though, I'm just I don't like the I know that I probably just said some confrontational things, but I'm behind a camera right now. I'd never say that in an actual conversation with somebody. You know what I mean?
No, I understand what you mean. I'm also a little bit uncomfortable with the exchanges, and obviously he's trying to fight for his show. He said something in a later tweet, which I thought was interesting. Somebody said, "Wow, really appreciate you for this war against Disney," or something. And he said, "It was never a war."
He just seems frustrated. He doesn't seem like he's fighting a war.
Right, it was never a war against Disney. What he said, it was a war for Disney. I was trying to help them make a great groundbreaking show, and it was up to them whether they wanted to try to stop that from happening or not.
That is such an awesome political thing to say, to phrase that. I'm just saying, I don't know whether that's true or not, but that sounds great.
I do agree with him, that... And I think a lot of his ideas did end up getting through, which is why Gravity Falls ended up being great. And you wonder, if everything had been able to be approved, what it might have looked like. But that's always going to be a thought for every show.
That's a really good note about the process, too, because you just said a lot of people think he's fighting a war against Disney, but he was fighting it for Disney. That's kind of what working for Disney's probably like a little bit, right? You're fighting against it for it all the time. That's kind of what the whole overarching change of society is like, right? That's what it is. You have to fight for it. You have to fight against it for it, right? Isn't that how it
Whoa.
works?
I mean, as somebody who worked at Disney, this is very interesting for you to talk about because, I quit like 6 months ago now, but there was a lot going on that made me very disappointed in the company, in certain things that they decided not to act on. And to your point, I do think that a lot of the backlash that Disney got from its own cast members during that time were a result of, we are fighting this because we love this company and we would like to continue being proud to work here, but you're making it where it's harder to do that.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, Disney is a freaking dinosaur of an influencer, and having them putting out positive content's really important. Just wanting to pretend like they don't exist or cancel them is just stupid. It's just not a good idea. It's not tactical.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're an extremely important part of
Children's
the
culture.
Yeah, children's culture, the entertainment ecosystem, a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
And obviously, I come from a childhood where these Disney stories meant a lot to me, and many of them still do, and are very nostalgic. And you want to see change for the things that you love. So I'm glad that Disney has gotten better with this type of content, and it seems like they're trending in a better direction. I think there's a ways to go. But it is, and I think that people shouldn't necessarily make the mistake of looking at this 10-year-old archive and immediately associate it with Disney right now. Because 10 years is a while ago, and a lot of different people shuffle in and out of departments within 10 years.
Yeah, that's a very fair thing to say.
It is quite possible that not a single person who was involved in any of this exchange works for the company at this point. Speaking from the perspective of somebody who worked there and saw lots of turnover.
And I'm not going to spoil any current Disney shows for anybody with any specifics, but let's just say that there's definitely things that are more okay in regards to what we've been talking about than were okay back then. There's more things that are flying, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just because lots of really hard work from people like Alex Hirsch pushing the boundaries and making the censorship having to change their rules, I imagine. Because think about it. Like you said in that email, it sounded like a discussion happened. And those discussions create waves, even though those are not seen publicly. And just the fact that creators are fighting for things like just that single cold email from Alex Hirsch, like, they're buddies, chill out. Like, that is an email that's like, I'm not screwing around with this. You better send me a more personalized email if you're going to fight me. You better actually have arguments.
Yeah, I mean, he's making it uncomfortable on purpose because
exactly.
that discomfort is what eventually leads to them budging a little bit.
It does. Well, because when you're just, the thing is, it's not about making people uncomfortable is what people need to remember. It's about making people ask why they're uncomfortable. And when you confront that question and you realize you don't have a real good answer for it, you kind of got to just shut up and realize that you're wrong.
Yeah, that maybe you've been socialized to think a certain way, and there is room to open your mind and change your perspective a little bit. You know, I think it's good to enter every discussion with the possibility that maybe you could be wrong, and then you have an opportunity to learn. It doesn't mean that you are every time. Obviously we're going to have some beliefs that are a very important part of our core beings as humans. But
I think the things that we're the most sensitive about are the things that deserve the most thought, because usually we don't like thinking about them because they're sensitive, but they're sensitive, so they're important, so we should think about them more and give lots of good reasoning and willpower behind why we believe in those things, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that people like Alex Hirsch and creators like Dana Terrace are creating really phenomenal social change because they're doing things like that.
Yes. And the more educated you are, the better equipped you are to help fight for these causes that you care about. So it's really good to, get that knowledge. Now, you mentioned Dana Terrace. I'm glad you said that because, we've been saying that there have been strides made, but I should also vocalize that Dana Terrace, the creator of Owl House, has personally also been fighting this fight.
Hardcore.
10 years
Well,
later.
that's why I wanted to say a little titty about Owl House, because I know that Dana Terrace has been really making things happen and creating big waves also. And I know, didn't she and Alex Hirsch date? Was that a thing? I think that's real. I'm pretty sure that's real.
Don't believe so.
I'm pretty sure I read that they broke up recently. I don't want to be making stuff up. Alex fact checking this, but I'm pretty sure I'm right.
Hang on. It's been Googled before, so you're not the first one to have this.
Oh, we about to uncover some extra dirty details on the Hirsch tweets episode. I'm just playing. We shouldn't be dramatic about people's lives. I respect everybody.
Actually, no, you're right. Actually, they did date, and I was not aware of that. And I guess in April of this year, Dana had, I guess, hinted in a Tumblr drawing that they broke up. So, best wishes to both of them. I still admire both of them for their creative work. That's wild that they dated for so long. Okay, neat.
I was actually only saying that because I imagine that they fought together on that a little bit.
Oh, I bet you're right. No, that's a really good point. I bet that, to some degree,
Dana Terrace a bit of a leg up maybe because she had a history of Alex Hirsch having to deal with it and her having to see him deal with it and maybe being like, I might be able to do this a little bit better.
And don't forget, they worked on these shows together.
Yeah, exactly. They worked on together. Yeah.
Yeah, both Gravity Falls and Owl House. They're both parts of the creative team. It's interesting because I bet that a dynamic like that is very empowering in that you are able to, get your thoughts together and know what you need to do, but it could also turn into a little bit of an echo chamber sometimes.
Yeah, that's a whole thought, the philosophy of working with somebody that you're dating, on a creative project like that. I think, it's one of those things where some people can make it work and others can't. Probably just one of those things.
Yeah, and, also I've seen Amphibia creators speak out and say that they wanted to have more things happen. So while I am saying, yes, we've trended in a good direction, it seems like the creators still have a lot more than we would like to do. And Lucas and I are obviously very pro-creative freedom for artists to make the work the best way that they believe it can be made. So, all right, let's get into some more of these.
Yeah.
Page 50. Please replace G's as the term is considered an abbreviation of Jesus.
Oh my God.
That's
ridiculous.
Oh, so you said, oh my God, be careful.
Jesus. I just straight up say Jesus on the show all the time. Literally all the time. I hope no one's offended by that. I've never thought about it.
I've also sort of dropped that casually now. And it's interesting, right? Because I do beep certain things that we say, mostly because, if a parent is listening in a car, I don't want it to be an issue, but also because I think beeps are funnier than just leaving it alone. But then there's certain things like that where we're not going to censor, obviously. So, I guess we all have our own internal ideas of what feels like it is worthy of censorship. I don't really censor asshole.
Yeah. It's funny? If you started censoring things like Jesus and asshole, it would just make it sound like you're saying worse swear words all the time.
That's the thing, is...
That'd be so funny. If you just started censoring words that are actually not that bad, dang it. If you put a censor word behind that makes it sound like you really cursed. That's awesome.
Have you ever heard of G's as an abbreviation for Jesus?
Of course, that's where it comes from.
Really? Okay, see, I genuinely didn't know that was even a thing, because it's been such a...
Oh, dude, I remember people... Well, when we lived in Colorado, I remember people being mad at me for saying stuff like that.
I remember when just saying, oh my God, was a really big deal. And to some people, probably still is. I
don't know. I haven't heard that in so many years, since I was a young kid. I'm sure somebody out there...
it was more of a second grade thing, but I noticed that some shows will do it, but I hear oh my gosh much more often, so I do think maybe there's some hesitancy to go there.
I actually say oh my glob a little bit more because of Adventure Time.
Oh yeah, and also that's it's a funnier way to do the joke, to be honest. So I think that's when censorship can almost get creative, where you find a better way to do it as a result of the constraints. You've talked about that on the show before.
Yeah, and Glob, God, and God are characters in the show.
Okay, gotcha.
So it adds context. You'll learn more about that. I actually shouldn't say any more.
All right. Ooh, page 26. Please revise Holy Christmas, as it could be perceived as religiously offensive.
Oh.
I see. Maybe I'm learning things, or maybe there's just a lot of ridiculous rules here.
Maybe the context, maybe it's supposed to sound like holy crap, so they're like, Holy Christmas. I don't see how that could be. I'm sorry. I'm trying, Disney.
All right. So it's funny, us trying to talk through this. So I guess saying holy anything, in a way, is making reference to something holy, which is in fact religious. So I guess maybe if
And
you
Christmas can't be holy, so sorry.
if you drop holy on top of a religious holiday, then it's a little bit too much, apparently.
Dude, if planet Earth considered any holiday the least holy on Earth, it's definitely Christmas.
Dude, I just read the next one. People cannot see my mouth drop right now.
Oh.
Page 6. Please revise Seuss's line about dressing as a giant teddy bear. It may call to mind the people who dress up as stuffed animals as a furry fetish.
That's funny.
There must be some missing context there. Maybe because it doesn't actually say what the line is. What?
Wait. I gotta hear his reply for that one.
His reply was, "Do I even have to respond to this?" That's Should we leave that there? Is there any...
Yeah, we're gonna leave that one there. That's okay. Just good. Just like that, we're gonna have the same response as Hirsch on that one.
Right. Page 11. Please revise Wendy's response. Ah, crud, dang, as crud has an inappropriate slang definition.
Crud is like crap.
Sure, but that one's shocking to me because I've heard crud in tons of kids' content.
Yeah, I thought crud was the safe one.
I am genuinely blown away. Okay, Alex Hirsch replied, "How is this my life?" Sometimes he's a little bit cold to these people.
Dude, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just know. I'll bet you that whoever's working there actually laughs when they read these emails. Like, they're saying like, oh my god, he's so mad. Like, and they got to turn to their manager and be like, what the fuck do I say to this guy?
It's like, hey, Jim, take a look at this.
Literally all they said is, how is this my life? Like, do I say, so are you taking it out? Like, what, what's the follow-up email? That's so awkward. I love it. That's so
cool. I hate that we're missing parts of the entire exchange. Okay. Page 16. S&P is not okay with saying the word Lucifer. Please revise.
Oh, wow, that changed hella for Owl House.
Oh, wow, that's right. Yeah, they literally have a character.
Lucifer! It's so cute. I love that show. If y'all haven't seen Owl House, like, literally go watch the whole thing. It's like so good. I love it. It's actually one of my favorite cartoons of all time now. It's cracked my top 10. I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, and us being a Gravity Falls podcast, I think to continue just giving Owl House their flowers has to be done.
Definitely. We don't get to do that at any other episode, so.
Alex Hirsch's response. I see no reason to change this. The devil isn't real. I'm
okay, sure... that one's a little unfair. Like, he's that one's a little... Hey, that's our cryptid for the end of this episode. The devil. That's what we're doing.
Oh, man. Okay, we'll put a pin in that and come back to it.
Okay.
I didn't think we were going to have a Journal 4 entry, but...
Hey, well, now we can. It came up.
All right.
I like that one, too. That's going to be fun to talk about.
Oh, okay. They replied back. Please revise. S&P is concerned we will get complaints about such mentions of Lucifer, Satan, and or devil. I believe that they would get complaints.
I believe they'd get complaints. I mean, we've seen for a fact that they did get complaints, actually, because people aren't real all that happy in the Christian neighborhoods about Owl House sometimes, apparently.
Oh, God. Some of the YouTube stuff for that is upsetting.
Yeah. So the fact that is a thing is dramatically... I mean, you got to at least admit that, like, Disney's censors weren't wrong a lot of the time. That they're like, look, if we're doing this, you got to know that we're going to get in a lot of trouble for it.
Sure. Okay. Well, and here's what Hirsch said here. So what if we get a complaint? The current line, scrimshawed from the tusks of Lucifer himself, is the kind of stuffy, non-political, old-timey purple prose like you'd see in Moby Dick. It is 100% less offensive to any religion than the Mr. Toad's wild ride hell scene in Disneyland. Our usage is patently defensible, and you could respond to a complaint like this.
Wow.
Sir or madame, we respect your religion, but this fanciful public domain language is used in a spooky, Halloween-like context, and in no way represents a commentary on any belief system whatsoever. Please eat this Mickey-shaped cookie and enjoy this cute, classic, family-friendly Disney cartoon.
I'm not gonna lie. That's he's right. That's exactly what you do. You just send. Look, I worked at the back of a hotel chain in Oregon one time. You just send a gift card. That's all you do. You give them money. That's all they want. That's it. When people complain, they just want money. They don't really care. They pretend like their beliefs are a thing. They're lying. They just want money.
Yeah, working with a lot of guest situations and complaints working at Disney World, it was a very hard thing to deal with those types of things because most people are complaining because they know when they complain, they are probably going to get something out of it. But if you don't resolve it, it escalates the issue tremendously. So you usually end up giving it to them anyway, even though that sucks for all the nice people who don't get anything. Now, there are people who sometimes will come up with a very legitimate complaint. They're very nice about it, and those are the easiest people to help because you don't have to have any kind of a moral quandary of, if I do this, am I about to make it that much more difficult for the next person that this jerk interacts with? Because now they know they can get away with it at Disney. It's a hard thing to kind of figure out.
That's a hard line to walk. I'm not envious of you having, because at my job I could pretty much just not care, and because I had no pressure to be perfect. So if we have a really rude guest where I was working, we still put on the hotel face for the most part, but if they're actually bad, you just kick them out.
Sure. And, I was a coordinator or, basically the next step up from a regular cast member. I would respond to these guest situations and cast members would call me. And it was a really big deal to them to feel like they were being backed up if a guest showed up. And sometimes, it was my job to not back them up because what we were supposed to do is kind of to make sure that the guest leaves happy so that as many people have a good experience at Disney as possible. And
yeah, you don't want to single out a guest by having a bunch of cast members show up when a problem goes on.
Yeah, and I also know that if I decide not to help them with the situation at all, then it's probably going to make the problem worse. So, there's a lot that goes into making these types of decisions. With a show like this, to be honest, I feel like they could just not reply to the email.
No, you have to reply to the censorship email. You can't, Alec, this is a business. You can't just ignore an email.
Well, I guess by Disney's logic, though, it's the same thing. They want to respond to every complaint so that the person feels heard. But, I've also worked in a department where people would reply to surveys that were not meant to be replied to, and they would leave really long complaints. And, we would just forward those to someone who could better help them.
For sure.
It depends, though, because then there's auto-generated emails that you can send back that usually not in regards to a complaint, but just regards to a general thing that people will say.
Well, and I'm sure sometimes you get, just whacked out, methed out emails that are, so nonsensical that it's okay, we're just gonna delete this, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Just throw certain ones away, especially if the guest comes out with any type of hostility that is not worth replying to. There are certain situations where that will be shut down immediately and they're not going to get anything.
Yeah. My favorite thing when I was working at the hotel is people be like, I'll sue you. Be like, cool, my job is done. I can't talk to you anymore. I'm serious. When people say that, cool, I'm like, cool, it's a legal thing. I can't talk to you till we have a lawyer. So peace. You'll have to take it up with someone with higher thing than me. I can't talk to you anymore. I'm done. That was it. I'm too lower ranked. The minute you bring out the suit, here's a card. I can't talk to you about it anymore. Sorry, dude. I can kick you out, though, if you try.
Yeah, and I will say, I don't want to paint a picture everybody who comes and complains at Disney gets what they want. If they are being totally irrational, there are ways to keep track and make sure that that person is not causing problems everywhere, and people will sometimes get kicked out of the park.
Whoa, dude. If this was a YouTube video, I would totally just have a creepy Mickey head materialize behind you as you said that there are ways of making sure that they don't do other things in the park. Jesus Christ.
People can picture. I just don't want to divulge any confidential information. It's not as weird as it sounds. It's more just if a cast member feels like a guest has come up and gotten something that was either they were being harassing about it or they were going out of their way to very clearly try to get something out of the transaction, then they just report it. And then if there's reports of the same guest doing the same thing in a bunch of different places, that's when they can get themselves in trouble. Because then it shows that, they're not trying to actually get help. They're just trying to get things everywhere they go.
So it is now canon for everybody to know that Disney has a stricter permanent record than exists in the education system.
Totally. Also, for those people who Worried about Disney security? You don't have to be. They're really good.
Maybe that's why they're worried, Alec.
Who knows?
That's probably why they're worried. For those of you who are worried about Disney security for the same reason I might be, you should be worried. They're very good. Don't try it.
I mean, people like you have probably gotten away with more things than people who have caused genuine problems, but...
Oh, yeah, people... yeah, we're not going to talk about that, though.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. All right, next. Oh, okay, Alex Hirsch was not done. I'm sorry for breaking up that... with this long tangent.
Yeah.
So then he continued to say, after leaving his amazing Mr. Toad comment, which, by the way, is my favorite ride at Disneyland, and I'm a Mr. Toad super fan.
That was my favorite comment so far, too, because his logic was actually succinct. Very good.
Totally, and I love Mr. Toad so much that if anybody was ever to make fan art and you want to incorporate me and Mr. Toad there somehow, I would like actively be like, that's fine.
Oh my god, if you could somehow reach out to Lucas privately, Mr. Knots on Instagram, and maybe I could make it a present for him, that would be sick.
Wow, right, nice.
Saying, actually, though, that'd be really cool. Hit me up.
Okay.
Mr. Knots on Instagram. I'm a fire spinner. Mr. Knots, fire spinner.
If people didn't know that about Lucas, he's a damn good fire spinner, too.
Aw.
All right, Alex Hirsch has said, why should we be held hostage to whatever imaginary knee-jerk career complainers would conceivably go out of their way to pretend to be offended by this?
Yeah, why would we? And
I get his point.
Because it'll make us a little bit less money if we don't.
But barely.
But barely. But that's the argument. It would make us a little bit less money. And Alex would say that's dumb. And
but
Disney
I disagree.
I don't know. What tell me.
Here's the thing. People who complain at Disney always come back to Disney. They never actually leave the company or the brand, ever. Disney has nothing to gain by appeasing these people, in my opinion. Especially in these types of things.
That's a good point. If anybody doesn't... If the CGI movies have proved nothing, it's that it doesn't need to be good for people to keep going back to it.
If there is a huge aggregate total of people who have a very adverse reaction to one thing, I mean, that probably means more than some of these really small examples of one person getting mad here or there. It's like, if they ask their kid to stop watching it, it's going to probably make the kid want to watch it more.
Oh, yeah. And that's just going to make Disney more money, too.
Right, and it's not...
Win-win.
Maybe they'll stop watching Gravity Falls, but they're not going to stop watching Frozen. Sorry. It's not going to happen.
No, it's true.
So, anyway.
If anything, actually... Back to the comment on, like, you know... Hirsch fighting a war for and against Disney. He's kind of fighting a war for and against himself, too. Because it really is the creators that get the short end when stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
You know? Because imagine if he got canceled because the censors were too loose for them. Can you imagine if something like that had happened?
That's interesting, that sometimes censors might serve a way to... Gosh, wow. It's so interesting
how stuff like that something actually gets too... If something's too offensive... Can you imagine, like in the first season of Family Guy, if they made a joke that was so offensive that, like, literally they just had to cancel the show?
Yeah, like, it really upset a lot of people on a super profound level.
Yeah.
I think that's the line.
That's the logic of censorship.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, there is a reason that it exists, and that's kind of it. And it even exists for bigger shows, right? It doesn't...
Yeah. I hate to say that censorship makes sense to some degree. Censorship only makes sense when we have national systems like we do. I think in a communitarian system that people like to idealize, their, idyllic society, censorship, it wouldn't be as important. But I think when you're dealing with, like, the masses in television, how it is in our society, I think it's maybe a little necessary.
Sure. So they replied to that, and they said, we'll review in this context. So I don't know if that made the show or not after the long exchange. Maybe.
Oh,
we'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Those are the emails that make me so uncomfortable. Just like, that's bad. You know that's bad. Everybody feels bad. And they should. They should.
I hope it's not just some poor intern that's handling the communications.
Me too, man.
Anyway.
I hope they're at least paid.
Yes. I'm sure they are.
Okay.
Disney doesn't do unpaid internships, to my knowledge, so that's good.
It's a big company. I don't know if I'd make that statement.
I'd be pretty confident. I don't know if I'd bet money, but I'd be pretty confident. All right, next up. Page 32. The gag with the basketball player throwing the pet chimp through the basketball hoop will most likely be problematic. We would need to run the scene by our Disney animal consultant for acceptability, especially with any primate inclusions.
Wow, I thought that they were going the route of it being maybe racist, and then you kept reading it, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah, it's
like
like,
animal abuse? Is that it?
but then why does it say especially with any primate inclusions? Is it because that is an especially bad animal to depict
Maybe
potentially
it's
like not
like
being
like
taken
in
care of well?
yeah, like endangered animals, maybe. Oh, shoot, man, I
Oh
respect
wait,
that
but
reasoning at least.
I do respect the reasoning, but this is also the pet chimp is like shooting a basketball hoop.
Wait, like the chimp is shooting it? He's not
Yeah,
going to
like
shoot
they're
a hoop?
taking the shot with. Oh no, sorry, I'm wrong. The basketball. You're right. The basketball player throws the pet chimp through.
Okay.
All right. I mean, I think that maybe there's some sense here. The more that we talk through it.
Okay. I don't know what scene you're talking about.
Oh, but then it says, also, the monkey's name, Salacious Monk, is also problematic for S&P, as the salacious term is inappropriate. Please revise.
Oh, really? Salacious monk? What is salacious problematic?
I don't think, I think salacious is just like, let's Google this. Jeez, we're learning a lot today.
Yeah. Just reminds me
Uh,
of Tenacious D.
oh, okay, having or conveying undue or inappropriate interest in sexual matters.
Oh, okay. I guess if a kid googled that word after hearing that name, that might
Like
be
we did.
problem. Yeah, like we did, us children.
It's like,
All
oh,
right.
I wonder what salacious is. Oh,
Oh,
okay. Now I
and then
wonder what
walks up to their
salacious.
mom. Hey, mom, you're salacious. Mom, what does that mean? Google knows.
Wait, what is this salacious singles? And then it just
Oh, it just it just gets
spirals
bad.
from there.
Yeah, it just it's good.
But Alex Hirsch replied, "This is maybe the dumbest collection of notes I've ever received. Seriously, reread this entire paragraph out loud."
Oh my god.
So I will reread it out loud.
Please do.
The gag with the basketball player throwing the pet chimp through the basketball hoop will most likely be problematic. We would need to run the scene by our Disney animal consultant for acceptability, especially with any primate inclusions. Also, the monkey's name Salacious Monk is also problematic for S&P, as the term salacious term is inappropriate. Please revise.
You know, that actually may be one of the single silliest emails I've ever heard in my entire. That actually is probably the single silliest email I've ever heard in my whole life. Actually,
when you actually read it out loud, it's so
yeah,
true. It's just
especially
like
after you said it like that, I started just like, oh no, that's actually really bad.
Oh boy. All right, next. Page 172. Please revise the text on Tambry's flyer. Bottles will be spun. This implies they are playing Spin the Bottle. We don't want to send the wrong message to our audience. What the hell? So Spin the Bottle isn't okay to show?
I was gonna say, I'm like, wait, isn't that the implication?
Yes! Like, it's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
so what they're saying is Spin the Bottle is not appropriate. So Hirsch responded to this one. The message is, teenagers like kissing. How on earth is this the wrong message? And it's on a flyer. We don't even show it. You gotta be kidding me here.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Come on, it's very hard to cut around this one. But they replied and said, S&P is still uncomfortable with this flyer, giving the impression that it is a makeout party. Alex Hirsch replied, what's a makeout party and where can I find one? Fine, we'll remove the line, bottles be spun. Please replaced with the new line, not S&P approved.
That's so funny.
Okay, and then,
that's
next,
pretty funny.
Next, I hate to say that I was spoiled on this one because it was the biggest soundbite that made its round. So now it says, please omit, not S&P approved on the party flyer. So they clap back, and we're like, no. And Hirsch said, I don't see the problem with this. Reply, not S&P approved has been approved by S&P.
Oh my god, that's so...
It's a real email!
You
not
gotta
S&P
know,
approved!
You gotta know that whoever was, like, writing that on their side was definitely like, oh my god, I'm so glad I get to say this. Like, that's probably the proudest email any censor could ever write.
And that is the very last one. My god, it is
Brilliant.
so funny.
Brilliant. So good. Oh
this has
god.
4.9 million views. So thank you, Alex Hirsch, for sharing this. His tweet has 343,000 likes. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I know that Disney is probably coming under some fire, or at least people are like coming after them for this. And You know what? I think that it's good to open up a censorship conversation. The fact that he dropped this is not a bad thing. We should be thinking about the best ways that creators can present their art. And
yeah, I think it's cool that this is public. And I mean, if anything, I think Disney should embrace that this happened. And I don't know. I mean, the smartest thing that you could do is just tuck and roll if you're a company that deals with this and be like, yeah, you're right. These are some pretty valid criticisms. We're going to think about this as a company. That's all you really need to say, regardless of whether you think about it or not.
Sure. And I should mention that if anybody wants to watch the video, there is somebody who performs the voice for S&P, and it's hysterical. So it's probably worth giving the video a chance to. Trust me, it's all worth your time.
I'm going to watch that later. That's so silly, man.
Yeah, it's also, it opens up the whole door of how many more things did they not show us. Like, these are the ridiculous examples. Surely there were some more serious ones that probably went back and forth. Maybe some which we would be less defensive, or we would defend less on Hirsch's behalf, depending on what they were. But, we also love a good show that's able to do the things that it wants to do.
Dude, I would drop a full year's worth of our YouTube revenue to see the conversations from Owl House.
Oh my goodness. Maybe one day, now that there's precedent.
Dude, yo, for real. At some point, hopefully, we're going to have like a Twitch channel, and I'm going to say that all the time. I'm going to be like, hey guys, give us some Twitch money. I'm going to raise a fund to try to get Disney and Dana Terrace to release those conversations. I gotta see them. We're releasing them on the channel.
Oh man.
That'd be so awesome.
I'm worried about that because I don't want to see the amount of money that we would get for that and be forced into donating it as opposed to how much we could make on our own.
No, I'm totally joking. I would not. I'm not going to promise that for money. Please don't. I'm 100% jokes.
Totally.
I don't want the law to come back and bite me in the ass for not having spent a bunch of my money on a silly thing that I was joking about in a YouTube video.
Sure. So, Alex Hirsch posted a bunch of tweets for the 10-year anniversary. Not all of them are about like the behind the scenes stuff. Some of it's just he still has a ton of love for this show. He's very proud of it. And like all of this back and forth did create a creative friction that resulted in some amazing work, which is part of the reason that we're here doing this podcast and why we love it so much.
Yes.
But dang, man, this really opened the door for us to have lots of interesting conversations today.
Yeah, this was really fun. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, for people who are interested in having more conversation, the Discord is a great spot to do that. We've got the description for that in the bio, and we've got a Gravity Bros text channel for you to chat.
Yes, indeed. And I think that I'm actually going to put this one on YouTube because I really loved this conversation, and it might mess with our algorithm a teensy bit, so it matters a little bit extra to like and subscribe on this one, everybody.
Sure.
I just thought that it'd be. I really wanted to share this with our YouTube people because I just love this conversation so much, and I think I don't know. I think it's cool news. I think it's cool to talk about, and and also now everybody who's hearing this can go check out our podcast if this is the kind of stuff that interests you.
Cool. Lucas.
Which Alex is about to do the plug for in a minute too. Yes.
Yes. Do you still want to rate Lucifer on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yes, I do. I was gonna say let's open up Journal 4 and put the devil in our book. Now the thing is, you know how I am about with my multi-dimensional logic, right?
Yes.
Now, I know how you feel about Santa Claus and the idea of a reality existing with like maybe like a dimension of thought that with enough belief system can will a creature into existence.
If you're asking me if I believe in Santa Claus, the answer is yes.
Okay. By that logic, does it not also make sense to believe in the devil?
Hoo boy.
Hard to cherry pick it just because one feels nicer, doesn't it?
Santa Claus, Satan Claus. Listen. As I've said in the past, I would never ever walk on to here and deny the existence of Santa Claus, just like in Miracle on 34th Street, one of my absolute favorite movies of all time. But I'm also not ready to sit here and accept the existence of Satan. So, to be honest, I'm not going to think too hard about this one. I am going to... Oh, man, I just want to opt out, to be honest. I don't want to touch the existence of Satan with a 10-foot pole.
Oh, why? Is there a censorship reason, Alec? Is there some... It's just some old-timey...
There are probably 3,000 reasons why I would probably just feel like it's not in my best interest to rate this.
I'll tell you, it's in my best interest, so you could just use my rating. Because I love thinking and talking about all of these things regardless of consequences. So, And this is why I would not be on a good censorship team, if anybody was unclear about that, even though I am the editor and censor of our content.
Except for the podcast.
Not
that's
for the
me.
Okay, not for the podcast, for the YouTube channel, to be fair. Anywho. I think that the idea that there are, like, demons kind of makes sense. I could see there being some, like, trickster netherworld, dark dudes. But the idea that there's one that's like the king of them seems kind of silly to me, So
Sure.
like, or if there was, maybe they'd like have like a system where it gets like, like placed every once in a while, So like Lucifer is a guy, and the devil is a position. You see what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, I genuinely see.
So for Lucifer, I'm saying like 1 out of 10. There's no way, right? Because there's no like supreme I'm the devil forever guy, but maybe if as like a position at the top of a rank of demons, I could give it up for that, and I could say someone calling that a devil or something of that nature, and so for that I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
Wow. Dang, I feel like you spoke about that really well in a fairly non-controversial way. Good for you.
Hey man, I think that the logic of metaphysics is honestly pretty straightforward for the most part, and if you just accept a couple premises as possibilities, makes it pretty easy to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, no, and listen, when it comes to things like this, I'm willing to have the conversations. The truth is, I just don't know, and I don't like to... When it comes to cryptids, it's very easy to just give a rating to something that I don't know because it's silly and fun, and then when it gets a little bit more on the level of religion and stuff like that, it's more just like, I feel like by making a rating, I'm actually like putting a genuine belief system onto it. And that's the main reason that I don't really want to put a rating out there, because there's too much like beyond this world that I'm not aware of. So, I'm soul searching.
I don't think of it as a religious thing. I think of all of it as cryptozoology and mythology to some degree. Because to me, I think of all of it as equally as potentially as real until I see some evidence of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really cool perspective, and why I love hearing what you have to say about these types of things. Yeah. It's funny. I think there's a non-zero chance that there could be some people finding our podcast for the first time because you were here for the Hirsch tweets. If that is the case,
true.
We open Journal 4 at the end of every episode to talk about a mysterious or mythical beast or concept or mystery. And we gave a rating of 0 to 10, and we add it to our own like mythical version, or our own book that we call Journal 4, which I don't know if will ever be written in person or published or anything like that. Probably not.
Oh, no, don't say probably not. That would be the sickest merch for us, dude. Can you imagine if we created the actual book 4 that had all of our like all of our entries in it? That would be so cool.
Trust me, I do want to do it. I just don't know what our copyright law would say about that, because it's Gravity Falls. So we might be able to get away with it somehow.
Maybe we could
make the door open.
Maybe we can make like 5 and do like a giveaway, and so then it's fan art that we're giving away. It's not like we're not selling it. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's cool too, but for all that work, we'll think about it.
No, that'd be sick, because then we could keep some and just publish a couple, and then they're special. I like that.
I'm not ruling it out. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, everyone, this podcast is brought to you by the Brazilian Dragon Podcast Network. I actually got to hang out on their main feed to talk about Total Drama Island on a recent episode, so check that out over there. And Lucas may be on there soon. So thank you, Tessa Scarborough, for the cover art for Gravity Bros. Thank you, the mysterious woman, Anna LaFleur. Check us out on social media, and have a wonderful day. And really savor the day. I hope it's going to be a good one for you. I do.
Yeah. Call someone you love and have a nice conversation with them. It'll make you feel like you had a cup of coffee without the downsides.
Well said. Goodbye, everybody. We will see you next week. Happy sleuthing!
And if you're on YouTube, subscribe. Bye.
Bye.